faculty and staffs. I want to welcome every one of us to this 2-day journey of the outcome-based education train the trainers program as organized by Koren. May we remain standing as I request the pleasure of Dr. A.T. Adekoye for the opening prayer.
Shall we please lift our hands to God in heaven and appreciate Him for life? Let's thank Him for His mercy, His faithfulness. Let's thank God for Landmark University. Thank God for the College of Engineering. Thank God for your life, for your department. Let's commit this training to the hands of God. That Lord, please have your way. Lord, have your way. Lord, have your way. Come, O Lord, and take perfect control. In the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Father, please, we want to feel your presence in this meeting from the beginning to the very end, and your name alone shall be glorified. Thank you, Jehovah. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
We remain standing still as we take the school anthem. Studio. Can we have a seat, please? The way I'm viewing our mouth, I just pray that we won't have reason to sing this anthem one day without the music. At this time, I want to welcome the Dean College of Engineering for the welcome address, Professor J.O. Ojediran.
Thank you, Amy. But I think looks like the volume is a little bit low. Can you help us increase it a bit so that we make some noise? The Vice Chancellor, ma'am, the Registrar in absentia, I'm sure she will soon join us. Distinguished faculty, please, permit me to just stand on the already rolled out protocol. We want to thank God for finally bringing us to the D-Day. I want to begin this welcome remark by felicitating with the Vice Chancellor and entire management, and indeed the entire Landmark University, on the recent, Times Higher Education World University Ranking. The College of Engineering appreciates God and rejoices with the Vice Chancellor and entire management on this great feat. Now, the outcome-based education, which hereafter we will just choose to call OBE, is another feather in our cap by the grace of God, or will soon be another feather in our cap depending on how things go. The body that regulates engineering practice in Nigeria, as we know, the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, saddled, with the responsibility of regulating engineering practice in Nigeria, has gotten the mandate from the government of Nigeria, and it's all in the bid to make our products, how do I mean, our engineering graduates, to be able to compete in the world of work. As we speak, there are 3 accords, but the one that Nigeria has signed in with, and this journey began 5-7 years ago. We thank God for elders in the house who are actually at the formative stage. I know Professor Ajishegiri is fully in the picture. Yes, the Washington Accord is the one that Nigeria has gone in for. And that is why the Council for the Regulation of of Engineering in Nigeria is driving it, with all zest. In fact, there's a timeline given all engineering, faculties of Nigerian university to be able to comply with OBE. And I tell us, OBE involves a lot. Well, I want to appreciate the magnanimity of management, ably headed by the Vice Chancellor, graciously sponsored, 2 of us in the series of training. Specifically, I was sponsored and Dr. Okunla was sponsored, to be able to facilitate this training. Well, our sister university, Covenant University, I think we had almost about 7 or 8 in attendance, including Director of Academic Planning. And talking about world ranking, as Covenant is making it, Landmark is also making it. We want to thank God that Landmark was not left behind in the OBE training. The facilitators we shall be having for this 2 days training are persons that have actually touched base with OBE. I want to place it on record. Yes, that Dr. Ganado, not sponsored himself and graciously accepted to also be a facilitator in this training. Our hands together for him. That is in the spirit of sacrifice. Outcome-based education. Yes, for now, it is the Engineering Council that is driving it. But we were there, and NUC representatives were also there, that actually for Nigerian university system, very soon, that is the way to go. That OBE will be the way to go. For now, 4 universities have been taken, chosen as pilot scheme. We have Ahmadu Bello University, University of Ibadan. And then, for private universities, you now have Covenant University and Afe Babalola University. What is taking place here today, we had the first phase some months ago, which was immediate. We send report each time. And Koren was excited about that. By the grace of God, what is taking place these 2 days will also be flagged. We'll send report. Already, even when the notice came and we flagged it, we have been receiving congratulatory messages that, Landmark University is actually trailblazing. So we want to thank God for the ambience created for us by management. By the grace of God, the facilitators, like I earlier mentioned, will be doing justice. May I quickly say that this is a training that took 6 days. Now we compressed it to 3 days, and when it was forwarded to the VC's office, she asked that please, let's streamline it to 2 days. So we're having these 2 days, and again, even the 2 days is like an abridged version, because we know how our schedules are in Landmark University. We don't want to tamper with lectures. That's why we strategically chose 2 p.m. downwards, that whatever you can give your students morning time till that time, please, you can always reschedule. That is why we are here these 2 days. And I'm sure that it's going to be an enriching moment, especially as our facilitators, deliver. Once again, we are all welcome. Please, if you have not registered, make sure we have the list for technologists, and then we have that for faculty. Once again, we are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, the Dean, College of Engineering. At this point, it's my pleasure to bring to the podium the MC woman of Landmark University. Can we rise to our feet? And may I also say that the more you clap, the more the tickets you get from this training. I also welcome the Vice Chancellor, Professor Charity Arem.
Thank you so much. Please, may we be comfortably seated. This afternoon, I count it a great and rare privilege to stand before us to witness the Train the Trainer program for this special program, which we call OBE. OBE, I learned about it a few months back when the Dean came up with a request to attend the first time. Again, the request came again to attend. I said, look, by the time we return from this, and we do not have a feedback to the faculty members in engineering, the university may not be able to sponsor us anymore. Because one thing about learning, no matter where you are, is the ability to transfer that knowledge base. Until you transfer that knowledge base, you are not seen as learnt. And so I said, if it is possible, sir, let us have this program. And I'm glad today that is coming to reality. So on this note, I want to congratulate the Dean of the College of Engineering, the HODs in the College of Engineering, and of course the faculty and staff in the College of Engineering. I tell us today, the heartbeat of any development in the area of economy, in the area of social life, in the area of anything you may want to call it, rests on technology. Rests on technology. So, having this warm welcome, I want to appreciate the university management. I want to appreciate the Chancellor, Landmark University. We all were here yesterday when he came again to incite us on the way forward. It's all about the vision quest, and so we must keep appreciating the Chancellor for being with us on regular basis. Some people will say, how do we, as a young growing university, get to where we got to? I tell them, inside of me, I say, people don't know what it means to follow up on your project. Anyone that has a project, if you do not follow it up, no matter how much you are investing into it, forget it. If you want to understand and appreciate what I'm saying, try to organize a 20-man get-together, not more than 20 man. And just let's have an LOC or whatever. Have the organizing committee for the 20-man 60th birthday you want to celebrate, or 30th, or 40th, or 50th, or even want to celebrate for your aged parents. Just say, okay, I want to spend 5 million for this celebration. And then you have 2, 3, 4 people to say, please organize a befitting celebration for, with this 5 million. And then you go to sleep that morning, put on your apparel, and then come. You will discover that people will still say, why did you invite us when you know you don't have just 5 million for 20 people? Without you putting your eyes and nose into it, you will know the meaning of not monitoring anything you are investing on. And so that is why we are where we are, because we have a chancellor who is always putting a check on us and then providing further directives on the way to go. And so we will keep appreciating him, because it's the nuggets we receive that we also inject into us. It's what we receive from him telling us you are not doing it enough. Then we also ask ourselves, how can we do it better? Then, come, my people, how do we do it better? That's why we have more often us, getting back on us, asking us for some things which we believe that God will enter into us to also appreciate driving lifeline. And so on this note, the college dean, members of the HODs of programs and departments, they have been able to drive lifeline. I know, when did you attend the last OBE? The one you had in Ibadan, that was how many months? February. And then March, April. Of course, along the line, we had the exams. We went for holiday. So we are still, within the time frame to bring this up. And so on this note, we appreciate us for this. And then again, let me appreciate Corinne. Corinne for, daring to go in this direction. Like I said earlier on, the whole world is now technology-based. And anyone that wants to drive technology has to start from engineering. That is the base. That's the root base for driving technology. And so I want to congratulate the regulating body. That is the Council of Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. That's Coren. So we appreciate Coren also for going in this direction. And I'm glad because I received the report, the two-time report, emerging from the outing. And we want to say that if we are able to tease out the rubrics in this outing, Landmark University Engineering will be better for it. And of course, consequently, our students will be much more better for it. I want to say that this program is all about driving the pedagogy of teaching. Driving the pedagogy of teaching, the pedagogy of learning. And it's all loaded in the methodology of whatever course we teach in engineering. And so I'm not surprised that we have these able men listed out as the facilitators. And Professor Jedin, of course, is a facilitator. Dr. Kuala, Dr. Ghana, and of course I was looking at, I said, if Professor Adishegri is not there, I want to say that we have to postpone it so that he's also captured as a facilitator in this. And so it's all about we, the faculty. And as I was coming in, the first thing I checked was the desk, the registration desk, to see if actually we are there. Because the essence is to see that all of us that are faculty in engineering are captured in this training. That's why it is a train the trainer. As I was coming, I said, I hope the people that this is meant for will be there. And I thank God you have the registration desk. And I noted about, in total, about 48 participants. We should be here, 31 faculty and then 17 technologists. So I've been able to note that. I said, okay, this is a good place to be if we have this number as participating. Now, if we have a total of 48 individuals being part of this training, I know our students will just, be out there. Because at the end of the day, are they competitive? Are they able to face the graduates from engineering? Are they able to match up with the world of work's expectations? These are the things that it raises question when it comes to this kind of training. And so I want us to maximize this season, draw sufficient knowledge base from it, and then be able to turn it, roll it back on our students. By so doing, you'll be seen as a complete faculty, complete teacher, complete even technologies in relating the practical learnings to them. And I want to believe that it will be a moment of indeed acquiring knowledge. It will be a moment of indeed acquiring knowledge, technological-based knowledge that will be transmissible or translatable to our students. And so I hope I have been able to incite us to know what you seated out there is expected to garner from this 2-day training. Yes, I saw 3 days. And I said, how can we run this for 3 days? Oh, no. We have lectures. We have other engagements. So the best option is still have to, compress and maximize the 2 days. It will still end up as the same, not minding the extra day dropped. So on this note, I welcome us on behalf of the management of Landmark University to this special 2-day training, which is on outcome-based education. And I believe it will be a worthwhile moment. Seeing our senior faculty, the HOD seated, I know it's a serious business. is a serious business. And may we maximize the opportunities therein in Jesus' mighty name. And so on this note, permit me to request that we all rise as we declare this 2-day program open. And before I declare it open, there are several expectations from us. Before I left my office, I received a mail from NUC on our Google profile, Google Scholar profile, Problem profile. You are giving the Director of Academic Planning a lot of work to do. Finding a way to, permutate and write what should not to NUC. Please, dear faculty and staff members, we may not spend 40 minutes opening a Google Scholar page. Thank God some of us were there when we invited him for the first doctoral academic training. The first thing he said was, Landmark, you are so poor. And he gave us the data. No wonder we keep ranking low in these places. Every ranking body have their indicators. For the one that God helped us to emerge as a world class, the indicators are quite different. I'm sure if they should load Google Scholar, Problem, ResearchGate as part of the indicators for this THE ranking, we will not be there. We will not be there. And because most of the things we requested for are loaded within the SDG team, if it is everybody being involved, we will not be there. If it is all of us, every faculty being involved in that ranking, we will not get there. These few months I'm seated there, I now see what the media past and other VCs used to cry, honestly. Please help us, help us. It does not cost you anything to register on the Google Scholar page. It does not. And eventually it will be for you, for God's sake. I want to admonish, and if possible, do I say, let me just use the word admonish, because the word beg may be rather low. I want to admonish us, arising after her, let's get back and register on the Google Scholar page, Problem page, and then ResearchGate. Which other one? There are several of them, but let's get these 3 done. Scopus, we have no choice, just the OSID. Yes, just the OSID, get your OSID, and then you have your number. That's all. Once you have your OSID, then automatically you're on Scopus. So please, I want to beg us. This thing does not cost us anything. When I never even knew what all of these things for, many years back, before I even got here, that I got registered in Google Scholar. Under 20 minutes, I was done. I just got interested on my own. Those government universities, they don't. On my own. Because I like being on this net thing. And I said, how can I do this? And I'm just a student. It was my master student that I called that time. Come, how do I do this thing? Under 20 minutes, sir, we were there. So it does not take time. I think next FFF, sir, we will bring out every departmental list. And we have to do this within 10 days. That's what NUC just told us now. Within 10 days. And DAP is now still writing to see how we can. Please, the word class starts with you first, before any other. I just saw it as a privilege, sir, to say this to us. May God help us in Jesus' name. And so on this note, we want to declare this 2-day program open in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Congratulations, College of Engineering. Thank you.
Can we please put hands together once again for the Vice Chancellor for the wonderful welcome address. Thank you very much, Ma. Can we have a seat, please? Right now, the flight is about to take off. Today, we'll be having 4 short presentations today. And for the first one, to be taken by no other person but the Dean, College of Engineering, with the title OBE and Engineering Learning Outcomes. Can we please put hands together as we welcome Professor J.O. Ojediran.
Thank you, Emmy. Again, Vice Chancellor, we are, highly delighted having you in our midst this afternoon. I'm sure the VC needn't mention that. It's not easy occupying that office. I don't envy that office at all. But I've been at several, fora where, you have mentioned, not until you got there, you didn't know what. So I said, Makamaka, Loyenka, you know. The office of the dean too, very soon, once we are done, it will be another person's turn. Let me quickly just say this, that the program sheet we have, because it's a 2-day program, so what you have is for day 1. By the grace of God, there are other eminent facilitators. Professor Bikule is a facilitator. In fact, Professor Ainiola, they are the people behind the mask actually helping out and all HODs, definitely. They have what, yes, everyone is anchoring. Tomorrow, by the grace of God, just to give you a rundown, we'll be breaking into syndicate groups, program by program, mechanical, agric, and what we are to do by the grace of God when Professor Bikule comes to handle, we will know precisely what. So, our time is already compressed, seriously compressed. I will have to rush through this, may not even consume all the, but I'm happy that the VC is seated and will also partake of maybe 1 or 2 of these presentations. Incidentally, VC was whispering to me, OBE, what is it all about? And I said, Ma, just try and be in this presentation. So OBE and engineering learning outcomes, by the grace of God, what I seek to achieve in this presentation is, 1, we'll be able to know what OBE is and its importance. We'll be able to explain essential components, of OBE. Don't forget, in my welcome remark, I said it is outcome-based education, which hereafter we'll simply be referring to as OBE. What are the purposes of OBE? Because it's not just an exercise in futility. What are the basic assumptions of OBE? And then on what does OBE actually thrive? That is, what are the principles? Also, I want to be able, with this presentation, we differentiate between our traditional education and the approach from OBE. I mean, why, and you see, shortly too, they have seen it. Why is there, advocacy for paradigm shifts in our teaching and learning pedagogy? That's what we are saying. Know what exactly the outcomes will be, and then, if time permits, because Dr. Okola is handling this aspect proper, I wouldn't want to, identify different learning outcomes in OBE. Yes. Now there is a great challenge. And what is it? How tertiary education could provide both professional knowledge and skills and all-round attributes to the graduates so as to enable them face diversified yet global demands of the 21st century society. That's the challenge. And I'm so happy my fellow participants are here, universities, in fact, the place was filled up despite ASU strike. The universities came out en masse, whether sponsored or not sponsored, came out en masse. And I felt so sweet seated there, speaker upon speaker, among audience. I will say, this OBE, but we can assure you there are products of a university we don't need to mention, that when they come, we know these are, and then the person got so engrossed in speaking, finally he said covenant. I felt so sweet, because by extension, landmark. So that is the great challenge, and which, by the grace of God, will be actually, to compete in a global economy of the 21st century society. A country requires, I said, the workforce, even though we are focusing on engineering education and our products, engineers. But honestly, like I told you, even NUC is saying very soon, the way to go is, OBE. And thank God, our sister university is trailblazing. In fact, at the training there, everyone agreed that the people who will not have much headache with this thing are the private universities, notably, Covenant, Landmark, Afe Babalola, because your cost compact is a demand there, is a prerequisite. Our monitoring and evaluation is serious here, very, very serious here. I have a professor friend in another private university I don't need to mention, and he told me, sir, what is happening in Landmark, that we are still very far. We are far. Academic programs require serious monitoring, like the VC rightly said. The country requires a workforce that can solve problems, a workforce that is committed to ongoing learning. The day you stop learning, then you start dying. A workforce that is creative, has above average communication skills, is in line with new technological development, and is flexible, not rigid, able to meet with the demands, changing demands, because we live in a world that is, the only permanent thing is change. So, our products should not be stereotyped. They should be able to adapt to change. That is what we call flexibility. We should be able to come up with a workforce that can participate in management processes and decision making and can work interactively. Now, the present approach of our teaching and learning is what we call the traditional education approach. When we had the executive advance and then review the executive advance, Professor Ajishegiri presented fantastically on learning pedagogy and teaching pedagogy, and he mentioned some of this. The traditional education approach, what characterizes it, what distinguishes it, is that one, it is teacher-centered. The teacher is the alpha and omega. It's teacher-centered, lecture-based, curriculum-centered, too formal. Knowledge and skills learned are not always coupled to a specific or to specific outcomes. So, as it were, learning takes place in a vacuum. Obviously, there are deficiencies, of this traditional approach. More attention is put on what is taught rather than what students actually learn. Is it not true? It is, sometimes it is even teach to come and, just vomit it in exam and then pass. And it's sad because our certificates are more meal ticket oriented, but now the emphasis is not so much, on your certificate. Is holistic. That's why each time we teach our students, from time to time, we veer off and let them know some life applicable principles. The certificate that will be offered you reads in both learning and character. And I tell you, serious organizations now even pay little premium on so much on the learning. They are more concerned about the character. That's the software that drives the hardware. More attention is put on what is taught rather than what students learn. Students are given grades and rankings compared to each other. Students become exam-oriented or CGPA-driven. Graduates are not completely prepared for the workforce. How true? Very, very true. Well, on our own platform, God has helped. I just told us of what we came back with the testimony that when the graduates of this university come, they have come. Even interaction at the interview, they deliver. Packaging, they have. How many interviews have you gone? I had a teaching in one public university. I've forgotten that it is public. I was almost sentenced to, you came as if you were a farmer from the village, but that is, acceptable in their own climate. You know ours. It can't be. So this training we're already inculcating in this our students. We don't expect them, like I keep telling I don't expect any student from Landmark University that took to teaching and learning to now go for an interview and from your appearance they are sending you out. No, you have failed. As an ambassador, you have failed. Graduates are not completely prepared for the workforce. Lack of emphasis on soft skills needed in the job. You know, for instance, communication skills. There is how to speak. You know, there is how to comport yourself. Interpersonal skills, analytical skills, working attitude, etc. Now, this is a quote, and I think is very relevant here. Success at education institution level is of limited benefit unless learners are equipped to transfer academic success to life in a complex, challenging, high technology future. That is true. Unless whatever teaching, whatever education is going on, achieves that. Please help me tap my friend, so that he will be, hello, tap him. You are not tapping him, engineer, yeah, please. Please try and be active. Yes. Unless we are able, to bring it to this, then something is... what then is the missing link? I've told us, traditional, that is now justifying OBE. You soon get to know what OBE is. There is because there is a missing link. Having learners do important things with what they know is a major step beyond knowing itself. So, I'm an agric engineer, in all the teaching, in all the whatever we're stuffing them with, they should be able to go beyond that and be able to do something. Do something. That's the major step. Having learners do important things with what they've been able to acquire is a major step beyond the knowing itself. Beyond the knowing itself. Now we come to real business. What does outcome-based education, what does it really mean? OBE, what does it really mean? OBE means clearly focusing and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students. Vice Chancellor, on account of this even, the curriculum review, is paramount. Even, the one I came with, I had to get a copy, especially because 4 programs are facing accreditation by October, November. We're facing current accreditation, EIE, CV, only ABE has finished that. So curriculum review is heavily ongoing. Everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experience. Starting with a clear picture of what is important for students to be able to do, establishing the conditions and opportunities within the system that enables and encourage all students to achieve those essential outcomes. Now, in OBE, all learning activities are geared towards not what the teacher is going to teach, but what the outcomes of that teaching should be. What the learner is supposed to do and at what standard. Those are the things that, clearly distinguish OBE, from the traditional, approach. It involves the restructuring of curriculum. I told us earlier. Assessment and reporting practices in education to reflect the achievement of high-order learning and mastery rather than accumulation of course credits. Rather than accumulation of course credits. Well, it's on a different note that the Chancellor, in his message and admonition this morning, it's on a different note he was presenting that. How do you explain first class? And for 18 years or 19 years, has not been able to handle the steering of a car, so that it is not so much, the first class, as it is of what you can deliver. What you can deliver. Now, in a nutshell, this is how the outcome-based education, OBE, actually, in a nutshell, what it entails. OBE is the one at the center, the very up. One, we will have to identify what we call PEOs and POs, Program Education Objectives. I think Dr. Gana, Professor Jishagiri might be, yes, will have, and then program objectives, program outcomes. When we have done that, we now map to national qualification framework. You will get to know all this. 3, we link it to institutions' vision and mission. Landmark has a vision, and equally mission. Create course objectives, identify teaching and learning activities, match them, and then measure achievement, give feedback, what we call continuous quality improvement. Yes, give feedback. What then is the paradigm shift we are advocating in the education and training philosophy? What and whether students learn successfully is more important than when and how they have learned it. How they operate towards accomplishing results is more important than simply providing, services that do not meet societal needs. So the purposes of OBE, I said, 1, ensure that all students are equipped with the knowledge, competence, qualities needed to be successful after they have exited this place. After they have exited this place, Now, OBE equally works on some basic assumptions. 1, that all students can learn and succeed. But they all do not learn in the same time or in the same way. I don't need to expatiate on that because I have something I want to show us. Another assumption is that successful learning promotes even, more successful learning. When a student has been able to learn successfully, it's a trigger to learn more. It's a trigger to learn more. Now, schools control the conditions that directly affect successful school learning. That is true, depending on the ambience, we are creating. Now, this is where I want to get to. Now, this is our current education system. Bulk training. Now, you can see that's the umpire there seated on his desk. That looks more like Okunola's desk. The HO, yes, this desk is the only rich desk on campus now, well, apart from the VC's desk. Look at it. Everybody is a genius. We mentioned it earlier. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. It is Albert Einstein that said that. Now look at that clip. You can see that's a bird, monkey, is it penguin? That's an elephant. That's a fish. And that's a dog. And look at what the umpire told them. He said, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. So fish too is to climb tree. For monkey about it is just gallop and go. How will the elephant do it? Now that is the present approach. That is the present approach. It doesn't create room for, the ingenuity, the potential in some of these students. Can I tell us this? I've always made reference to it. I've always made reference to it. As a pioneer staff, our first set of students, there is this electrical engineering student, Edet. Edet is not the best student in terms of first class or whatever. No. But that young man had one strength. Very inquisitive, very restless. When all other students are gone, he's the one, so is there any pioneer technologies here? Mr. B has gone. The last time I made he was still here. EDET, even during SWEP, all students will have gone. EDET is the one in the lab fidgeting, and he will be asking, what this is, joining things together. Do you know, by the time he went on youth service, not necessarily the best, it was the one, these people were in NASDA. EDET is in NASDA. He has gone on several overseas training. Big time contracts in Landmark University, all those screens, is EDET that is getting it. He didn't make first class. Even in the list of 2-1, perhaps is from the bottom. So every student, we simply need to identify, and then don't bottle them all together, wanting a fish to climb tree, just the same way you want an elephant maybe to swim in water. It cannot work. It cannot work. Well, as I quickly, wind up this, because we can't finish it, we all have there is actually the other clip. I wanted them to join with this for me, talking about stakeholders of OBE, and there is the part clearly stated, the Vice Chancellor of the university. I'm sure, the VC will be here tomorrow. So, essential principles of OBE, clarity of focus, designing back, teachers should have high expectation. Teachers must strive to provide expanded opportunities to all learners and all of those things. Well, because we fixed the rule, I will need to stop here. Tomorrow again, I'm still coming up. We'll take it up from here. Thank you.
Can we please put hands together for the Dean College of Engineering, Professor Jiwo Jediron. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presentation. We'll go straight into the second presentation, Bloom's Taxonomy and OBE Curricula, to be handled by the HOD Agric and Biosystems Engineering, Dr. A.A. Okwala.
Well, standing on the existing protocol, I'll be talking on Bloom's Taxonomy in engineering curricula, in engineering education and OBE curricula. Just as it has been mentioned earlier, OBE, well, in every OBE presentation, we talk about what is our objective. What do we want students to achieve or participants to achieve at the end of a course? So we believe everyone should be able to understand Bloom taxonomy and its importance. Also analyze and evaluate the present engineering education curriculum, then apply the Bloom's taxonomy to engineering education in Nigerian university. For my outline, we look at Bloom's taxonomy, the engineering education as we are having it, how we can bring Bloom's taxonomy to the engineering education, and how we can develop the OBE curricula. The Bloom's taxonomy was created in 1956 by a team led by Benjamin Blooms to promote higher form of thinking in education, critical thinking, creative thinking, thinking that can solve problems. One thing about OBE is to build competency in our student or in the participant. And we know that something is very important. We've been hearing it before. The KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. How do we test for this? Most of what we have in traditional education center majorly on cognitive domain. Ability to cram, memorize, and to pour it back to the lecturer the way it is presented. But beyond cognitive domain, even in cognitive domain, which deals with intellectual development, we have the lower cognitive and the higher cognitive. Then we have the psychomotor. The psychomotor is talking of doing activities, and while affective domain, it talks about feelings and attitudes. So Bloom's taxonomy can be used as a potential for model for framing educational objectives within a course and as a guide to structure activities and assessments based on learning. They didn't mention the other time what we call the program education objective. What we mean by program education objective is talking of at graduation, what are the competencies that you expect a graduate to display 3 years after graduation. Then we have the program outcome. Immediately you are graduating a student, what are the competencies you expect a student to display or to demonstrate? Then we have the CLO, course learning objectives. The course learning objective is something that we can equate to our course compact. So I think I want to move on. Action verbs for assessment. When we are talking of Bloom's taxonomy, we are talking of keywords that are measurable. Educators come up with taxonomy of measurable verbs corresponding to each of the Bloom's cognitive levels. Action verbs in preparing assessment questions are important, and we'll be looking at this. So when you look at knowledge, particularly remembering, is at the lower order level. When we are asking of students to define, identify, repeat, recall, mention, write, state, list, name. An example of such question: what is, how will you outline? So this one is at lower level. Then comprehension or understanding is also, we can say it's at lower or a little higher. And here we ask students to describe, distinguish, explain, interpret, predict, recognize, summarize. And we can use some of this example of question: what facts or idea shows this? Or how will you classify? These are at some lower level. Then higher level, we are now talking of how to apply, compare, contrast, demonstrate, examine, relate, solve, use. So this is higher level. Then we have analysis, how you can relate, compare, analyze, differentiate, distinguish, explain, infer, relate. So we can, what inference can you make from the tables that are presented? So which means you need to consider two tables. What evidence can you, what things justify your decision in making a particular selection? Synthesis, this is creating. And we know engineering is more of creativity, design, develop, formulate, integrate, organize, arrange, combine. So what could be changed to improve the present situation? What test will you carry out to evaluate the performance of maybe a compression ignition engine? Then evaluation, judging, decision making, assess, critique, determine, evaluate, justify, measure, recommend. Recommend, maybe you have given students a project, then you are now expecting them to recommend. So these are at higher levels. Analyze, create, evaluate. All these will make the student to engage their mental faculty in creativity, critical thinking, and innovative problem solving. So if you look at this, these are assessment methods of different Bloom's cognitive levels. You see, the lowest form is remembering, followed by understanding, applying till you get to creating. And ways you can assess it: test, quiz, assignment, mid-semester, end of semester, which are majorly what we normally do. They are in the lower level or lower order of Bloom's taxonomy. So how can we move or get into higher levels? We can do this maybe using final year projects, where you give them assignment or group assignments, course projects, laboratory report, mini or minor project, SWEPs, and sideways. These are areas where we can go into higher level. So the psychomotor domain now. These are some of the action verbs that can be used. I believe this will be pushed to our mails. So, because I might need to rush to get to the end of where I'm going to. So this, when we are talking of psychomotor domain, it's ability to maybe you are doing some measurements, using linear measurement, measuring of a level of water in a measuring cylinder, where you have the lower and upper meniscus. You know that there are some level of skills you require to get the accurate reading. Well, for the affective domain, let me give us some examples in this. For example, you want to milk a cow. Our people used to say that if you want to milk a lioness, you need to be very patient. That is talking about affective domain. When you are tightening a wrench, where to stop, when the wrench will be okay. So these are some of or you want to administer first aid to a patient. You might know the theory, but how do you really apply it that you don't injure the patient? Or maybe restraining a cattle to take the temperature of the cattle through the anus. I've been able to do that once I was exposed to some of this training. So what do engineering students really need? We need to talk of need assessment. And this is where we involve the stakeholders. We have about 7 stakeholders. 1, the proprietor is a stakeholder. 2, the parent, your client, people who come in. The student, they are stakeholders. The industry that will employ your graduates. The alumni who have passed through the mill, they are also stakeholders. So we have all this. Then the educators, the lecturers, we are also as stakeholders. But you observe that the present curriculum we are normally producing, we just bring some experts. They will sit down and they say, this is useful to know, this is essential to know. But what are the interests of the student? What is the expectation of a student coming in to study civil engineering? You build from that level. These are some of the things we are doing in OBE. You start from what the student knows. The student also have some measure of knowledge. You, as a lecturer or as a technologist, you have to facilitate. So students experience much higher learning when engaged in learning process, and that's what we call learning by doing. Creative thinking, critical thinking, innovative problem solving, open-mindedness, and so forth. So what do engineering students need? A survey carried out in 2004 shows that creativity is very important in engineering profession. Current engineering education in general does not enhance creativity. We need to engage them in design assignment, real life assignment, so that when they get to the field, they will have some measure of competence to address the challenges they are facing. Reason of this weakness need to be isolated, and creativity fostering aspect of teaching, learning, evaluation process identified, promoted, and used more frequently. Engineering education. I've mentioned about the CLO course learning objective. It's just like our course compact. But you define your objective. What will students or my trainee be able to do at the end of this course? And you measure it. Like I said the other time, I was able to restrain a cow, and take the thermometer. I was able to teach some other people from other discipline how they can carry out bleeding in an engine rig. So PO, program outcomes, PEO, program education objective. So CLO is what students should be able to do at the end of the training in a day or the end of the lecture. POs, program outcomes, what the student or graduate should be able to do on graduation. And PEO, what you expect your graduates to do 3 years after graduation. So creating a better engineering education, we've seen that engineering students report more effective learning when they are engaged in higher order cognitive activities through active learning by doing, exploring, sending them out to go and also get some information. You know, we have the internet, IoT, where they can get information. So rather than just dishing it out to students. Application of the Bloom's taxonomy to engineering education. Like I said, we need to use action verbs to state learning intentions. Use Bloom's style question to prompt deeper thinking. One of the things that Korean will be bringing now is that in our assessment, issue of list, what is, state, and all those things mentioned should not go beyond 200 level questions. For other levels, we expect them to do higher order of thinking. So course content development, that is CLO, you know, and we need to be able to, what are the things that it is essential for the student to know. So CLO, PO matrix will be handled by some other presenter. OBE curricula, I believe God will give me grace to meet up. So you need to know what are the future conditions. We must be able to think ahead in the next 5 years. What are the challenges engineering graduates will be facing? Drive and exit outcome, develop performance indicator, delivery instruction. How do I deliver this training? So you have to blend it. Blended training is not only telling students, but you can create scenes where students will either they have group discussion, give them assignments and other ways of learning. So we are working on student-centered learning, then we must carry the need of the student and other key stakeholders in driving out our learning outcomes. I've talked about knowledge, skill, attitudes. So we can see the engineering program, KSA is also their cognitive, psychomotor, and affective, the education and training. Well, we can have various mode of assessment. You can see from 1 year going to, some people are using straight-jacketed, knowledge is 70, skills and attitude just 30. So there are various blended approach, and a good lecturer, a technologist, we know which one suits best the level that the students are. Curriculum review, lifelong, these are the things, ethics and professionalism, sustainability, just like we are told, success, you can enter into it once, sustaining it is what, then lifelong learning. Our products should be trained in a way that after leaving class, they will still go back to books. Unlike now, students will finish exam, they will just abandon everything for the lecturer. Project management, finance, teamwork, and related laws. Assessment planning, we've looked at something like this earlier, so I don't need to. Well, questioning techniques. Well, I want to summarize this in using what I call QPNA. What is QPNA? Question. You pause. That's the second one. Build insufficient time for all the students, because you can call on anyone to give you the answer. And you now name a student. And by naming a student, you can redirect that question to some others, or you can still ask some other questions, and the student you name will give you the answer. So, and you can still ask further questions interacting with the student. Question, answer student question with another question. I want to thank you for listening, and I believe that within a short period, we all be used in using the OBE. Thank you.
Can we please put hands together for the head of department, Agric and Biosystem Engineering? Thank you, sir, for that wonderful presentation. Please, I want to plead with us, for those of us that have questions, you can try to scribble them on the paper and also signify which of the presentation is for, so that we can save time. If we can't handle those questions today, tomorrow by God's grace, we handle them. And also I want to plead with us, we ought to have a short break now, but we want to scrap it off so that we can leave here in good time. So we'll go straight to the third presentation, current accreditation, preparation and process, to be handled by the heads of department, civil engineering department, Dr. A.J. Ghana.
The Dean College of Engineering, the professorate present in this meeting, fellow faculty and staff, all protocols duly observed. I have the permission of the College of Engineering to present these slides on current accreditation, preparation, and process. Sorry, the slide is remote is here. It's not. Okay, okay. This presentation is on 3 topics, very brief. The first one is on introduction. The second one is preparation. The third one is accreditation process. The introduction. One of the major mandate of current is the accreditation of engineering program. And this mandate is the reason why current is set up. Then the aim is to make sure or to promote engineering education in our institutions like universities, polytechnics, and technical colleges. Now, there are other aims, but because of time, I will just stop there. Last month, that's the month of April, somebody put a write-up, posted a write-up on the net and titled it like this: Why Nigerian universities remain local. And the person gave reasons. He said, an international or world-class university stand on 4 pillars. What are those 4 pillars? Number 1, he said international outlook of staff and students. The second one is quality of teaching, quality of research, and global graduate employability. In landmark here, by God's grace, we are doing well. At least if you look at number 2, 3, 4, you see, my emphasis will be on number 1, international outlook of student and staff. If you look at a landmark presently now, I don't think we have many international students here and international staff. I want to believe that management will give this one, a kind of a serious thinking. And the diagram that you are seeing here actually explain what that person said. International outlook of staffs and students, quality teaching, quality research, and graduate employability. That is what that diagram is explaining. Now, we have had a lot about accreditation. Now, for preparation of accreditation, it is believed that institutions seeking for accreditation should apply 9 months before the accreditation period. And after that, even after the whole accreditation, there will be what we call pre-accreditation visit. That is, before the accreditation commences, such institutions will be visited to make sure they are prepared for the accreditation. Now, that is that there. Now, under the preparation, we are used to some of these things, some of the points that are there. I remember last week that we sent requirements, those things that are expected during accreditation to HODs, and I think we are used to them, so we don't need to bother ourselves with some of these things again. Sorry. Now, for the preparation of any accreditation, let me say that any successful accreditation in any institution will depend on the following factors. One, list of academic staffs in a department. Are they adjunct? Are they sabbatical? And so on and so forth. And their academic qualification. List of technologies in a department. Their qualification. Their area of specialization. Then, examination scripts, and so on and so forth. We have, the lists are just many. And like I said, we have these ones already in our department. So this is not strange. I want to believe that as we prepare for the forthcoming accreditation, which is the NUC, some of these things or each points that are listed there will be given serious attention so that at the end of the day, the accreditation will be successful in our various departments coming up. Now, let's go to accreditation process and timeline. Now, anytime Korean go for accreditation, these are issues that are normally given attention to. Now we have the first one there as day one, arrival and pre-accreditation meeting. Then two, review of self-study reports. This is what Korean will always do when they go for accreditation in any institution. And I believe the same thing applies to NUC. Then day two, opening meeting with the Dean of Engineering and Head of Institutions. Meetings will be held with head of the institution and the Dean of Engineering. The inspection of common day facilities like the laboratory, workshops, and equipment in those places. Then the third one is breaking of accreditations team into smaller groups for specific engineering program. This is a time when officials from Korea or NUC will go into smaller units before accreditation, commence. Then we have the day three. The day three here is use of information from the study booklet. Then what are the things we have in our laboratory? Review of student file, and so on and so forth. These are the things that will be done on the third day of accreditation. Then the fourth day has to do with meeting with faculty members to discuss findings of the accreditation teams. Then the exit meeting with head of the institution to discuss finding. This is when accreditation is completed. This one will be done. I remember last year when they came here, when the NUC came, and Korea, we had this meeting. And finally, we have return of team members to their various stations. We are used to some of these things that are here. And I believe as we prepare for the next accreditation, the one coming up this year, at the end of the day, we will have cause to say, God, you have helped us to carry out this accreditation successfully, and we have passed. That is our belief. And I believe as we start working on the preparation and the process, at the end of the day, we will be able to say of it through, God, you are faithful, and the accreditation is successful. Thank you.
Well, can we please put our hands together once again? I think that's the shortest presentation we'll be having around here. Please put your hands together again, if you know the meaning. All right, we'll go straight to the fourth presentation and the last for today. Practical session 1. Exercise, mapping of mission, POs evaluation. And this will be handled by no other person but Professor E.S. Ajishegiri of the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Keep clapping until Prof gets to this podium. Keep clapping, please. Keep clapping. Keep clapping. Thank you.
Sorry, sir, you don't need to clap for me. I am just one of your small boy that is here to have a discussion with you. It's really quite interesting, okay, that I have been asked to talk about mapping of missions, because it gives me opportunity to actually integrate the theories that we have on ground with the practice that we see. That is the one that is very, very important. Okay, because I started with some basic definitions. What is a mission? Okay, is the purpose of what you want to do. Okay, and it is from there you have what we call mission statement, which is an action-oriented declaration of your purpose. So, in every engineering training, there is always a purpose. And I also want to suggest to the CSIS that maybe they should have a small clock icon, okay, to the board, so that it can help a proper and better management of time. Thank you for hearing the suggestion. And sorry that I am taking it as a privilege being here. So, we believe that we want to train engineers. Do we really know inside of us what is the concept of being an engineer? Because that is very important. Like I told you, engineering is from the word ingenuity. Okay, you are supposed to be geniuses. Okay, as a genius, what are you supposed to be? So, the mission statement and its identification and understanding takes about 30% of your achieving your purpose. Because if you don't know where you are going, definitely it will be difficult to get to that place. Because even when you arrive there, you will not know that you have arrived, since you don't know where one is going. So, an achieved point includes a description of that point. It includes the function of that point. It includes the objective. Okay, so, and all of the missions that we are talking is centered or taken from the vision. What do we believe that we want to achieve currently and in the future? Okay, because creating an engineer includes the core values, the strategic plans, and the culture of a place. I took an advantage of juxtapositioning what we have here with what current demand and how it can be blended, because we don't know, it's a big picture, all of them put together. You cannot say that you want to train an engineer, a product of landmark university, without knowing what a product of landmark university should be. And we also need to know that there are requirements from current. How do you put this thing together? Do you even know that there could be an alignment? And if there is an alignment, definitely there could be a misalignment in the purposes of the two of them. So, the very first thing that one needs to know, okay, is to start from the mission statement of the university. And I captured it here: to be a leading world-class university by spearheading an agrarian revolution in the African continent through the exploration of hidden treasures in the Mother Earth, thereby restoring the dignity of black race. So, you must produce an engineer that will function in this domain. And what it means is that the engineer must be world-class. The engineer must be able to spearhead agrarian revolution. And that is one of the reasons why either you are a mechatronist or you are an electrical engineer or mechanical engineer, whatever it is, whatever you have to do must be related to agrarian revolution. And it must be art-based or art-related, because you have to explore the hidden treasures in mother art. And it must be such that will restore the dignity of black race. So all of this will happen. Okay, all your vision or the mission embedded in vision must happen in the domain of the core values, okay, which is spirituality, responsibility, mentality, capacity building, integrity, okay, diligence, and sacrifice. All of these ones, okay, will be able to get you to a motor. If you put all this together, then you will be able to break new grounds. Okay, we as those that God has placed at this point to steer the students must know that this is where we are going. If we don't know that this is where we are going, it's hardly possible for us to be able to steer the student in a way for us to get there. So that is the influence that we have as lecturers in Landmark University. There is another domain which is important, because first and foremost we are engineers. You know that it is stated in Quran and in everything, no matter the kind of title that you do have, the first thing that you have to state is the engineer, engineer doctor, engineer professor, engineer pastor, engineer whatever. So as an engineer, what is it that Quran wants as an engineer that will be able to break new grounds? So the very first one is that all engineering graduates must have a sound understanding of up-to-date practice. Sound understanding of today's practice. Most of us that are sitting down, how many of us is able to keep on with the trend of things, the trend of development? I said this one before, I am saying it again. I'm a very lucky person. God has been guiding me. The reason why I say so is this, okay? Either we know it or we don't know it. Every one of us are working towards my profession, okay, which is mechatronics. You just have to electrically drive whatever it is that you are mechanizing or agrarizing or chemicalizing or civilizing. All of them must be controlled. Without their control, there is no way. So I am just one step ahead, and I believe that every one of us will imbibe this into the section so that we know that no matter the expertise that you have, without you being able to sit down and get the thing driven by processes that you have put in place, you are on the way, but you are not there yet. Because I believe that a day will come when we will be able to make the machines that will make the machines that will make the things that we do. Then we will all rest. Okay, until that time, it will be very, very difficult for us to say that we have assumed. So when you are talking about that, curriculum must encompass all the desired elements of knowledge profile, the complex problem solving and complex engineering activities, so that you will be able to have a sound understanding of today industrial practices. Okay, because if you go to the net now, you see machines, okay, collecting the eggs, hatching the eggs. In fact, it can just be switched on, and the whole processes of production up to the table level is automated. You just go there, and in fact, it's gone to the point that there are some warehouses now. Hardly do you see anybody. You have the packages done by machines and all the other thing. Deliveries done also by robots. The only thing is that you get a knock on your door, and then you get your materials in that way. So all of this one requires in-depth knowledge that allows a fundamental based first principle analytical approach, which is the Washington Accord. The Washington Accord is a build-up, okay, of the Chinese, the Malaysian, and the Asian countries, where you have more or less like whatever it is that you need to do, there must be practicum. Until you know how to do it, you don't know it. Okay, and this is what we call, and before you know how to do it, the principle is very important. I normally try as much as possible in any lecture that I carry. I would prefer to stay at the basic principles for me to define this is how this one is this and now the other thing before I now go into applications. Because the truth of it is, if the principles are not known, there is hardly any way by which you can make the applications, unless, of course, you want to go the technician way. Put them together, make them work first before you design. That is not the engineering way. So it is important that we must have a systematic theory-based understanding of natural sciences application to discipline. I am still saying this, and God is showing me more and more. My suspicion is this. Either you are a mechanical, a Greek, chemical, biologist, historian. We are all solving one aspect of what we are showing. Everything that we are doing is centered towards a particular locus, the same point, whichever way you look at it. But, you know, as a material scientist, you create the materials. Some people are still going to use this material. They will do the thermodynamic applications of it. All of the people will turn it into mechanisms. Mechanisms will be driven. Everything, when it gets to the elements of it, it is just the activities of electrons, protons, and neutrons. That is the way. So the concept-based mathematics, which is numerical analysis, statistics, and all the other things, is what led to what we call machine learning. Okay, because for you to be able to do control systems, by the time you know your complex numbers, differential equation, Fourier series, matrices, including some other things, you'll be able to put them together and then formulate a model. That model, you can now find out how this model is going to work. You can know to what extent. That is when you have your ANOVA regression analysis and everything. They all come together to form the basis of where we are going. So, and this knowledge must support engineering design in a practical area. Because I said something sometimes, what happened to me when I was doing my PhD. I did a design completely, constructed it the way they wanted it to be done. And then I was supposed to use a magnetic stirrer. I put it at the bait, I switched it up. Nothing happened. It took me more than 3 weeks, a month, for me to find out what is going on and all the other things. If I did not construct, I will never know the other thing. So anything that you can conceive, you can make it happen. And that is why they say, and it is true, that what is inside is far better than what you can see. What you cannot see, better than what, and now is coming back to the spiritual thing that we are talking. The spiritual is superior to the physical. Because as designers, it will be in your head first. You will write it. By the time you are writing, there will be modification. By the time you are doing all the other things, how many minutes? 5? Okay, I will finish. You will have a modification. And then the time you are constructing, there will be modification. So what you get working will be a very inferior concept of what you had in mind. And that is the way engineering do it. So you have engagement with selected knowledge, and this is what essentially Washington Accord is telling you. involved in wide-ranging or conflicting technical engineering and other issues that come together, you will not have encountered issues that are outside the problem. In the universities, in any learning environment you have, the best that you can get is that you have a pinhole peep into what is to be. Hardly will you ever encounter the examples that are given to you in the classroom. So if you don't know the basis, there is just no way by which it can be done. And what are the implications? The implication is that engineering problem that cannot be solved in depth from your learning, you have to use your head. And you have the applications over and over and over again before you are able to. And that is why we have this issue of gurus, the teacher, the master-student relationship. When you are following, eventually you will be able to say, master, okay, why don't you go this way instead of the other way? But without knowing, okay, how to follow and the way by which you will make people to follow, you will not be able to do this. The further implication is that complex activities in engineering, they have some other characteristics which are very clear. Range of resources involved in all these other things. We're talking of OBE. In the university that I was before, once I start a lecture, I will give them a project. This project will make either 1 or 2 or 3 of this thing at the end. And it carries 35%. You know, these are the ways by which you can, in one way or the other, make the practical. But if you don't have the practical materials or you don't have the way and all the other thing, it will be an issue. So the issues are complex. You make difficult decisions on certain strategies. You have confusing ideas, contentious problems, but all of these factors you think is negative, they are really positive because it means you are expanding. Okay? And without a challenge, there is no way that anybody can move from the way to the. So to achieve all of these ones, we have, the final year project. We have, course or what you call take-home projects and things that the students will practice upon for them. Normally, a whole lot of them, 50, 60, 70% will mess up. But out of these ones, you will have some that are really outstanding. And then you use those ones as an example. It's the same thing that, in research institutes and, universities like this. If 300 research grants are given, and it is only 2 that succeeded, that's 2 will bring an income that is more than double what you have paid on the 300. And it is always better for us to do this. So, to get a matrix, what exactly are you supposed to do? The very first one is that you must map your curriculum with your course. Any course that is being handled by anybody, the first thing is for you to say, how does it fit into LMU vision? How does it fit into current? Then when you have the big picture, which niche is this one fitting into? If that cannot do, then all the mathematics and all the other things will just be in vain. So there must be a way by which there is a mesh between the vision, the mission, and the core value of landmark university that is imposed on the outcomes of current value. That is the only way by which we can go. And it needs concerted effort. It needs deliberate steps. World class does not happen on its own. It is made. Thank you very much.
Can we please put hands together for Prof? May I request we rise to our feet as we pray together for everyone that has presented today. It's been an enriching event. Thank you, everyone. We can have our seats, please. At this time, we'll go straight into the interactive session, questions and contributions. And we have less than 10 minutes to do all of this. I don't know if we have any question. We can signify by raising up our hand, or if there is any contribution, something we want to add to everything we have talked about today. Anyone? One? Is that all? Okay. Professor.
Thank you very much. I think I can speak loudly enough for us to hear. It's okay.
Okay, sir.
There are industrial revolutions that are, okay, the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, okay, which is information technology. Okay. And then the fifth one is coming now that we are talking about 5G. And it appears we are all missing out on this. Nobody is talking about big data analytics, Internet of Things, machine vision, machine learning, artificial intelligence, okay, flow charting, coding, okay, preparation of automation and things like that. And this appears to be where the whole world is going. I attended something of engineering, okay, some times ago. And we were made to realize that as of 2022, this is an area that they are pumping in $300 trillion into it. And that it is not reflected, okay, in most of our curriculum. What can we do about this?
Thank you, sir. All right. Do we have anyone that wants to answer this question? Internet of Things. Professor.
The question he asked now, the problem is that they are not visible. People are doing it, but it's not visible. It's not something people are really showing everybody, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But what I would have expected that, let's see it, let everybody be aware in terms of lectures, workshops like we're having now. If we can organize, things like this, that when you have this kind of development, when I say development, technology, in artificial learning, IoT, and you allow people to do their presentation, people will be aware. I believe many people sitting down here, they are into most of these areas. So the only thing is that we have what we call sensitization. Allow people who are into these areas to come out, give us presentations. I think many people will be aware that we are doing them. That is one. Secondly, my question. Prof, I was looking at I was looking at the presentation 4, which you handled. We were talking about mapping of mission, which is the program education outcome, outcome, and then how to evaluate these two. I was expecting that during your presentation. Probably you have a reason for not doing that, because that is the main purpose. I asked this question because tomorrow, this mapping of mission, POs, and CLO, they are the things they'll be using tomorrow to do their practical sections individually. That is as a department. So I was expecting you to, analyze it, show them the table, how to map all this together and arrive at a particular place. Probably it's an oversight or because of time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the observation. Actually, okay, they were not left out, okay, at all. All right, the PEO is Program Educational Objective. That is the objective that you have set for yourself. and the program outcomes is the PO. Okay, that is how you can practically relate the outcome that you are expecting to the objectives that was set. And it is important that we do that. I just positioned the areas of the vision and mission of Landmark University with that of Koren. And then the issue now, which I raised, was that when you are teaching every course, how did you place it? How have you been able to see the small corner that this one is occupying so that it can form a complete block of what we are expecting? So I did that. Thank you. If I can also use the opportunity, 2 quick questions or observations. We are talking of this OBE. Okay, what will be the role of NUC and BMAS? Because it's something that is already set and given to us. Okay, so that is number one. Then there is another one that is not so serious. This is something I've never believed, and it has gotten me into trouble a couple of times. When we were in secondary school, okay, we had objectives and all the other thing. And then A-level, I was privileged to have gone through that route. We have sections A and B. Okay, the section A will be short answers and B will be the big one. So what is the role of objectives in the universities? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to ask a question. Now, I know that there's a strong relationship between the curriculum and the so-called OBE. I'm not sure whether now, as we are talking now, or there's a specific curriculum, because we are putting a cart before the horse now. Now, we are talking about OBE, outcome-based system. Okay, this is what we expect. We want to have employable students, or want to be able to produce a student that will fit into the reality of what is happening out there. Now, we seem to have forgotten that if you are not privileged to know how things are run out there, you may not be able to impact knowledge to these young ones that are coming. How do we intend to bridge this gap? Now we have people that are within the 4 walls of university, first degree, second degree, third degree. They don't even have industrial experience. They don't know how things are done. So many of them can describe the system. They tell you this is what we do when we are doing sandblasting. This is how it is done. But in the real sense, I think, sorry to say, there's a whole lot of things we need to do. The trainers themselves have to be given the opportunity to know exactly how things are done. We are in a system that is restricting us. We're in a system that is not allowing us to interact with realities. Okay? But I think we should find a way, in order to make this policy work or these OBE things work, we should find a way to expose our people also to this reality of life, so as they'll be able to impact these incoming students. And then that is when this can happen. And the first thing to do is to let Koren come up with a curriculum, OBE curriculum. Since all this year, they've been talking about OBE. There's no curriculum in place. And then we all know that the curriculum we use presently is a sham. It repeats. I don't just want to talk about it, but if there's a way we can help ourselves, okay, let's talk to them, let's stand on their neck, come up with a curriculum that is OBE based, and then we will follow. Because if you allow people to go in their different ways, I'm sorry to say, I don't just know. We continue to dance around, and then at the end of the day, the foundation we are laying before will not even have a foundation, and we'll be shooting sporadically and then aimlessly. Thank you.
Sorry, just to further emphasize what has been said. I was privileged to have lived briefly in Germany. That is what they call the concept of Mittelstand. Okay, in a way, okay, I think their practice will assist this country. And how does it happen? Okay, the students spend 6 years for their program, and they come out with a diploma. But out of these 6 years, what they do is, the very first year is spent in the university. After that one, you have 6 months in the university, 6 months in industry. So even before your graduation, you are already working, and people are ready. Since there is always a feedback to current, maybe there could be that suggestion that we could go that route. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to congratulate all the speakers who have delivered lectures so far. Please, I want to also have it in mind. There is nothing wrong with our curriculum. Please. Now, our curriculum we have been using, maybe it's a shout out or no. People are coming with new ideas. It's a good one. And also, every now and then, we are reviewing our curriculum to be in line with the industry. Take, for instance, there are things that we are doing unaware that we are already doing the OBE. And how we put it across to us today. You know, we send our students on industrial training, right? And when they come back, they deliver seminar. They defend it. And we ask them questions. We interact with them. They come in with their ideas. We also blend our own idea with it. In some situations, some of those things that they are brought for us, we use them to teach them back, right? So that by the time they are going back, they are better put in place. They are better in place, so that when next they go for industrial training, and they can perform very well. Sometimes they come up with a program. They will tell us that, okay, well, all this we are doing manually, we have program. Sometimes we have them stay calm. You can organize workshop, you can organize training for your fellow students also to benefit. That's the essence of when they come back from industrial training, we have program for them. I don't know what we are doing here, but I know they defend it. Even sometimes when you see some of them that they have good things that others can learn, we give them more time. And we also, staff, we also benefit from them, what they're doing. Now, back to the whole OBE. Please and please, I want us to be very careful. We need to exercise some restraint. The students we are training, we have good curriculum for them. And many of them, we are getting good feedback from outside the country concerning them. Some of them with the first degree here, they are performing very well. If they are not performing very well, we can begin to say all sorts of things about the curriculum we are using. But we are having good feedback. Is there anyone that left this place for program outside and they perform woefully? Do we have such a thing? The answer is no. Are you that being? Then why are we working it in our home? If there's a need for us to blend it, we blend it. Then also we should also look at so many issues. There are many constraints affecting this particular OBE now. I remember very well when the issue came up, even in US, it generated a lot of controversy. And I will tell you the truth. Outcome based, yes. You want to look at what is our practice in there. Nigeria as a whole, let's face the reality, please. Reality is this. Look at the country, the past 20 years. Are we moving forward or we are moving backward? This so-called useless democracies, the people are practicing there, what are they doing? They are just siphoning the money. Are they industry working? I'm asking a question. So before we begin to say we are watering them, we should want to throw it back to them. Say, please, come. This is not the time for it. When our nation is moving forward, then we can think about it. All along, people have been delivering. I just look at it, I just laughing within me. Face the reality. Now, in your home section, how many companies are working? Let's do the paper mill, for example. The clothes and textile, how many of them are working in Nigeria? Is that? So, Tell me, which curriculum are we going to use to teach them? So then there's no test working. So what are they going to do? So please, don't let us just take, because those people who are there, they have come up with something and we begin now to throw down whatever we are doing. No, I disagree with you completely. If there's need for us to modify, we modify. You will feel like we need to modify, we modify. Don't just say the one you are doing is wrong. It's not wrong at all. We're all product of this, and we're doing fine. Please, we have our people in Canada, we have people in the USA. Go to anywhere in the world, you see Nigerian people living. We are product from Landmark also working. Doing very well. Even you, where I came from. We have people, some of my colleagues, our privilege to travel abroad, they are doing fine. So there's nothing wrong with our home. But as far as Nigeria is concerned, let's sit down very well. Look at our nation, please. We need to wait for our nation. A lot of people are out of job. How many companies in Nigeria are working? Most companies have relocated to Ghana. So what are we saying? Some people say now outcome based. Which company is going to dictate to us that we are going to adjust our curriculum to suit them? Tell me. Face the reality. Where are they? Where are they? They are Jakarta State. Is it working, sir? No, it's not. Making more millionaire than nothing. So what are we saying? Please. If there's need for us to, let's look in that direction. Then once in a while, there's need for us to organize a workshop, call those people in the industry, they come and give us an idea. How many industries do we have in Omu-Aran here? Tell me, how many of them? How many of them working? No, if the engineers are talking at the current level, they should be ashamed of themselves. How many? No. Face reality. How many companies, even the product, their own product, where are they working? Do the analysis very well. The number of graduates you are turning in, how many of them are getting job there? Where are the industry? The petrochemical, is it working at all? Is it, we are all dependent on this one, Dangote. Has it started? I went there, I saw what they are doing. It's a pity. Dangote wants to produce the biggest refinery in Nigeria, in the world. Where? In the world. Well, how many companies are there? Will they just fold their hands? And that's the question. So please, we are not here to just begin to just say what we are doing, water down whatever we are doing. No, please. In Nigeria today, they're really working. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Good presentations by Dr. Konla, my question is to you, Dr. Konla. You are talking about this taxonomy of educational objectives, and you mentioned 3 types. One is the cognitive domain, and you mentioned the 2 types. I just want you to relate the 3 together, because the one maybe we're going to use tomorrow is totally different from the other 2. So what are the relationship between the other 2 and this particular cognitive domain, so that we know how to map them together tomorrow? Thank you very much.
30 seconds, sir.
It's got to be 30 seconds. Thank you very much, the Dean. Well, I have to do some response to some of these things. The aspect of the BMAS, the BMAS that is being used, it's not that we are outrightly condemning the method of disseminating information to the student. What we are saying is that students themselves, they know some things. We can build on some of those things they know, and we can build competence into students, ability to face challenges and solve problems. So there was something I mentioned about the aspect of curriculum review when we are talking of the PEO, Program Education Objectives. We said these are things we expect students to be able, or graduates to be able to do 3 years after graduation. Whereas program outcomes are things they should be able to do on graduation. But we have what we call the stakeholders. The key stakeholders are those now that should be engaged in curriculum review, which involves graduates of our products. We have trained them, they are outside, they've worked for some times. They should be able to critique what they were taught when they were in school and how they find it relevant. And that's why we said the industry also will also be part of curriculum. In short, where MB Koren is going now is that even our projects, we should involve people in the industry in part of designing projects. There's what we'll be calling Industrial Advisory Board. People in relevant industry that will also be part of the committee that will also guide the institutions in what we are doing. So when I mentioned the program education, the PEOs, there are about 7 key indicators. Even when you look at it, Koren has about 12 PEOs that they expect each university to draw its own PEOs from. And they allow flexibility for peculiarity of institution. And that's why they said that even the vision and the mission of our institution will work along with it. That's why we have lifelong learning and some other things that I've mentioned. And concerning what you said, sir, you observe that we have the cognitive domain, which we said that we want to go to higher level of thinking. The psychomotor, I gave some example. In psychomotor, that is doing. For example, you want to measure in measurement, line measurement, you know the errors could be involved. You know, so psychomotor is now talking of how you do some things. I also mentioned maybe you are tightening a wrench. There is a way you can, it's not just tightening, you tighten to an extent you know that there is a feel and you know that you have achieved that. For example, I said milking. I gave illustration, even affective domain, attending to administering first aid. Somebody is injured. There is a way you can carry a person who has a broken ankle and you will be causing more injury to him. So that is talking of affective. You know, and so when we are carrying out our activities, even in engineering, you know, emotion, when we talk of emotional intelligence, these are aspects of affective domain. You know, it's one thing to dish out something, is the other thing, what is the reception of the message you are passing to the student? That is aspect of communication skills. So there are so many complexities, and I believe the dean will approve that those information will still be passed to us. Koren, I'm talking of MBT because that is the aspect handling polytechnics. Koren will be coming out with a curriculum. But even in that curriculum, there is still going to be a BMAS. But they allow for flexibility, and that there's also one thing we call CQI, continuous quality improvement. Any good thing you are doing as an institution. For example, we have our course compass. Several universities don't have that. But we can make our course compact now to be more functional. What, at the end of the lesson of the day, are the students able to do these things? I mentioned it to you. I was in England sometime, and I taught my colleagues, vet doctors, taught me how to take temperature to restrain a cow and take the temperature. And I also taught them how they can carry out bleeding from an engine rig. And there was a time, one of my colleagues, he said I'm his opposite. A tractor was overheating. He said I should just go and solve it. Well, thank God, I went back to some of my basic. But aside that, if there is no some level of competence, you might not be able to just jump on these things. So because some of us graduate at times, they are afraid of, afraid of taking challenges at times because of the exposure. And you will see somebody who has OND. I remember I was in income one time, 1991 or 92. Somebody who has OND, expert in agricultural machinery, that guy was loaded. But it was exposure. Not that he has, so these are the things, and I believe the challenges we are having in the nation. I know some things are not working. But if we can get the engineering to work even at its own level, because when we are talking of the engineering alliance, it's only South Africa that is practicing OBE in the whole of Africa. So if our graduates are going, they still need to subject themselves to the engineering examination in order to be qualified to start practicing as an engineer. But if we are able to get this OBE, that means if you are OBE compliant, they will just pick up jobs. They don't need to do accreditation or certification for other countries. Thank you very much. Many information will still be passed to us.
Thank you, sir. I want to plead with us. All other questions and contributions will have to wait till tomorrow so that we handle all that tomorrow. Then for the closing remark and the closing prayer, can we please welcome the Dean, College of Engineering.
His closing remark, I didn't know of closing prayer. But you know, it's a mild way of saying, do what you do and let's get out of here. Yes, it will not, it will be a little bit irresponsible of me not to also, respond to one or two things. And you see what has, played out today is typical of what played out those 5, 6 days, brainstorming days in that workshop. You know that the only thing that is permanent in life is change. But change will always be resisted. In fact, as I speak, it's only the private universities that have some element of OBE. All those elders who are still there, heavyweight professors and what they say, look, you are trying to just bring a foreign thing and you want us to swallow hook, line, and this thing cannot work here. It cannot work here. But honestly, the truth of the matter is, if we are to compete in a competitive world, we have no option but to go this route. There is hope for us in Nigeria, like Prof. rightly said, and Koren equally knows that this thing will have to be in phases. Now, the mapping of CLOs and PEOs, if we actually listen very well to, in fact, when I was given Prof that assignment, I knew it was a hard nut to crack. But if we actually listen to Professor Ajishegiri's presentation, mapping, PEOs with POs and CLOs, beginning from mission and, your action points, he stated them clearly. We only need to go digest those things properly and then we come up with it. But he said something in his question which we have not responded to. That almost $300 trillion for grabs, for grants and whatever. Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and all of those things. What are we doing as engineers to be able to plug into this? And the professor of Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, because Professor Ebikule has presented wonderfully, in fact, time ran out for him. Maybe we'll still have another forum in which the truth of the matter is there is no facet of life now that AI, Internet of Things, and forget whether chemical engineering, agri-engineering, whatever, that these things don't find application. And there are grants, but how are we plugging into it? That's the question he asked. And that's the challenge we should now take up. How do we access these grants? They are there for our picking. No matter what you are doing now, you saw the way he even presented it. That is happy everyone still have to relate with him. Because whatever thing you are doing, you have to program it. You have to control it. So how do we become relevant in all of this? Well, the HOD Agric-Engineering has been able to bail out in this. When Dr. Raf, the same way it was presented in that place, you see a human being came up. In fact, one of the current facilitators said, look, you killed the spirit of this, with all what you have said, it's as if we have come to waste. But the truth of the matter is, curriculum review is ongoing. Now, the one I came back with, which all those 4 programs that are to face accreditation, in fact, that one I came back with is up to 2017 or thereabout that I came back. I saw a whole lot of improvement, even for agric engineering, which we are not running with. I saw a whole lot of improvement from where we started. Now, current high-level academics are working on curriculum that when it finally comes out, it will be same for Unilag, that is running agric engineering, Landmark that is running agric engineering, Unilori that it makes the work meaningful for us now because you now have a BMAS. You have a benchmark you are working with. All other things, customized programs of the university, you know how to align. But there is the basic, the threshold, which no one is falling below. By the grace of God, Koren is coming up with that one. For now, even the BMAS I came back with is still a sweet one. It's a departure, an improvement from what we are running with. And for those facing accreditation, that is what they expect to have on ground. I could only buy one copy. University has not even refunded me, and they may not refund me. But presently, presently I think it is with mechanical on account of mechatronics. We will circulate too, so that chemical will also go through it. Electrical will go through it. And the good thing is that for us as a university, we're already running OBE, like Professor Ayiniola rightly said. And there is nowhere, it's on record, Nigerians get to that they don't showcase, what they are made of, But what the Washington Accord is saying is that if our products are to be rated, and spared all this wahala and whatever, if we are to belong to that, OBE is the way to go. And that is what Koren is driving with zest. And we cannot, as a university, be isolated, or appear to be insulated from what is happening all over. In fact, I'm sure they will come up with lifelines. Clearly, they said, for universities that will not align, we know what we'll do. They close down, such program. You may say they can't enter your, like one university said, go and tell me whether it is OBE that is paying, It tells them, they said, no problem. We know when we will get you. We know the place we will get you. The products you are, innocent students will have gone there, spend 5 years, 6 years, and their certificate is not recognized anywhere. Now, that will not be the lot of a Landmark University. So, in closing, let me appreciate us for day one. By the grace of God, tomorrow, same time, and tomorrow is the wrap-up. By the grace of God, tomorrow, same time, will come, what we are to handle when we break into syndicate. Professor Ibikunle is already fully with the material, and he's going to brief us how we go about it. Questions, our elders are still here, we'll be able to. Why this is important is, especially for those that are facing accreditation, you need to prepare heavily. So that at least as much as lies within us, we're able to present some element of OBE, which will be, plus for us when they come. Yeah, do you still want me to finish it with prayer, or you want to?
One question, sorry. What about the students that are already out? Because the OBE now is for those.
No, Abba, it is obvious. They are out. There's no problem.
But they can go outside.
Yes, whatever they, yes, yes. So we give God thanks. Shall we please rise on our feet as we, God has helped us day one. Yes. Father, we are grateful. We bless your holy name that, Lord, we proposed, and God Almighty, you brought it to pass. Father, these 2 days of brainstorming and interaction, I'm asking that, Lord, it will move College of Engineering, Landmark University. It will move us forward in the name of Jesus. And especially for programs that will soon face accreditation, we ask, oh God, that they will be better prepared. Lord, on account of these 2 days of interaction, Thank you for all our facilitators today. Thank you for our facilitators tomorrow. Thank you for all that will take place tomorrow too. We commit all into your hands and we ask for grace upon them all in the name of Jesus. All in all, Landmark University will be the better for it. Thank you, blessed Redeemer. In Jesus' precious name we pray. And surely God's goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives. We shall dwell in the presence of the Lord forever. Amen. Thank you so much. God bless us.